All right, emergency version of the Locked On Panthers discussion with Julian Council. I've been to Greensboro tonight. I came back to Charlotte, didn't see a lick of the ACC tournament. Julian is in Phoenix, getting ready for his duties with NASCAR and everything they've got going on there. So I guess I'll just ask you the question because it took everybody by surprise today. Where were you when you heard that the Panthers were trading for the number one selection in the draft?
Yeah, I was sitting in the broadcast booth up at Phoenix Raceway in Avondale, Arizona, and I saw the report. I saw the Bears were trading a pick, and I was telling myself, please, please, please don't let this happen to me again, where it's the Carolina Panthers while I'm busy, and this blows up my entire day. But, yep, I was sitting there at the racetrack watching ARCA practice. And here we are now, time for the Carolina Panthers having number one overall pick. So
I don't know what it was like there, but even at Greensboro Coliseum, except for like Duke, who like the players who were warming up on the floor, that is all anybody cared about for like a good 45 minutes. This is like the Panthers, they're vaulting into relevancy. They have the number one overall pick for just the third time in franchise history. And if they use it, it'll just be the second time in franchise history that they use it, Julian. I guess I'll start with the price. Obviously, number 9, number 61, first rounder next year, second rounder in 25. And DJ Moore. You gotta overpay to get number one, right? Did you think they overpaid? Do you think it was too much?
I always felt like they were going to have to trade up in the draft if they wanted any of the top 4 quarterback prospects out there in this 2023 NFL draft. So I came to terms that they were going to have to swap their first round pick this year from 9 to 1 to 3 to 5, wherever it was going to be early on in the top 5 of that draft. I also felt like they're going to have to give up one of those picks they got in the Christian McCaffrey trade from San Francisco. And that turns out to be pick 61 in this year's draft. And I always felt like they're likely to have to give up the first round pick in 2024 and then maybe something down the line, that being the second round pick in 2025. What I did not want this team to do was to give up a first round pick in 25 as well, which Bears general manager Ryan Poles talked to Peter King on Football Morning America column on Monday morning, saying that he knew that he could get a first round pick next year and in 2025. I just did not feel like any of these quarterbacks were worth that. And I certainly don't feel like any of these quarterbacks are worth the Panthers now instead getting up DJ Moore opposed that 2025 or first round pick. So I do think they overpaid, but Poles did say that if some team wanted to get it done now, they were going to have to give up a lot. And Poles did right by his organization by getting a haul, including a number 1 wide receiver for their young quarterback in Justin Fields.
Are you surprised that the Panthers didn't play this out a little more and wait till maybe closer to the draft or draft night to see if they could, move up, but not to number 1 and still get somebody they liked? Or was that ultimately just too risky for a team that just clearly needs to hit the reset button on the quarterback position finally in draft 1?
No, I felt like this is something that needed to get done this week. You spent all last week at the Combine. You talked to Derek Carr. He ended up going to New Orleans. You got to meet with Will Levis out of Kentucky. You got to meet with CJ Stroud out of Ohio State, Bryce Young out of Alabama, and Anthony Richardson out of Florida, the top 4 quarterback prospects in this class. You got to meet with all of them, see them throw everyone except for Bryce Young last week in Indianapolis, which is where we see these deals get done at the scouting combine. So there's no reason to sit around and dilly-dally and wait. If you know that you want to get a quarterback and you were impressed by these guys from their college film from the past couple seasons and by watching them throw last week and meeting with them, go ahead and make this choice. So when you head into free agency on Monday, but really on Wednesday, when the new league year starts at 4 p.m., you can tell these free agents, this is our plan at quarterback, because guys are going to want to know. If they're signing up to come to this new organization, yes, they know that Frank Reich is here. They know they have a very strong coaching staff and some of the other players on the roster, but who is going to be at the most important position on the football field? Who is playing quarterback? They can now tell these individuals that this is our plan. This is what we want to do, but we're also going to keep our options open and potentially trade back if that's something that we want to do. But a rookie will be drafted either at 1 or in the top 5 of this draft class and go to the Carolina Panthers. And that will be a quarterback.
Let's talk about what you just mentioned there, because there are reports that, maybe Carolina over the next 47, 48 days until the draft will trade again, still be in position to draft a rookie, recoup some of what they just lost in this mega deal. To me, this is like a test of Scott Fitterer's mettle, right? He's got all these connections, all this experience. He knows everybody. He's trying to read the tea leaves on all these other teams. And if, the Colts I mean, Jim Irsay is like telling everybody who he wants. Well, sure, come get him at number one, or we'll get him, and then we'll go back to your spot and draft somebody else. I mean, how likely do you think that is that another trade is in the mix here?
It's hard to say. I think I don't know if the consensus is this, because I know that Mel Kiper Jr. has Will Levis as his top quarterback. Most people, I believe, think that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are the top two quarterbacks. And now getting to number one, it ensures that you can get one of those guys, or you can get Richardson or Levis. I don't think they move up to number one and don't take a quarterback at number one. You want to have your guy. Now, it's possible that the Panthers, who are still very early in their evaluations, according to them, it's possible when they go to some of these pro days that they decide that, okay, this is who we want. And if a team like Indianapolis decides that, hey, we really want CJ Stroud and the Panthers want Bryce Young, then the Panthers could then potentially move back to 3. But then also that might put them in a precarious position where maybe Houston wants to take Bryce Young instead, so the Panthers can't move that far back. Or if it's Houston wanting to flip-flop from 2 to 1 and then knowing that they want to take somebody else, maybe they want Bryce Young and the Panthers want Stroud, then it could work out. I feel like they stay put at 1. It is smart to leave, they at least put out there, leak that we could still move back, just so that teams are going to be calling them, potentially trying to move up there, so Carolina can, keep up that illusion of what they're going to do, and to kind of keep muddy the waters, not necessarily tell people, hey, this is what we're taking. We know we're going to take a quarterback, but we're not going to let you know who exactly we want. So I think it's a smart move by Scott Baird and organization to kind of leave that, that dangling that, hey, maybe we'll move back again.
Does it make it all the more obvious what they're looking for with that remaining second round pick? I mean, like, you just traded DJ Moore, wide receiver, tight end. I mean, is that after the number one pick being a quarterback, is that the absolute must for the Panthers with their next move?
Yeah, I would think that in free agency, they're going to have to address wide receiver and tight end, specifically tight end. You still have guys like Dalton Schultz as a free agent from Dallas. You have Hayden Hurst out there available, Mike Gesicki. One of those three needs to be here in Carolina to provide something to the tight end position as far as the pass catcher goes, because Ian Thomas is not that. Timon Trimble has not shown that back in Notre Dame or so far in his first 2 years here in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers. So that's something I think they need to address during free agency. And you look at the wide receiver free agent class, it's not all that strong. Adam Thielen might be the top one. He's 32. He's talking about joining a contender. I have a hard time that looking at Carolina is where he would want to go. Odell Beckham Jr. sat out the entirety of last season. But does Carolina feel like a place that OBJ is going to be trying to target? I doubt it. They're going to have to find somebody to come here to be a playmaker. Maybe they can pay McCole Hardman more than some other teams might want to pay him, just because they can find an explosive guy. But right now, looking at that wide receiver class, Terrace Marshall has potential, but we have yet to see it in totality through his first 2 seasons. Shi Smith had a really strong training camp and preseason last year. That did not carry over to the season. Laviska Shenault had his moments, but those 3, that's just not enough for the Carolina Panthers and for a rookie. And I understand that it's not like day one, we're going to have a T. Higgins here in Carolina. You're going to have a Jamar Chase. You're going to have the same wide receiver core that Joe Burrow has in Cincinnati. It's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take some time, but they need to set up some strong, at least some sort of foundation offensively by getting this rookie quarterbacks and pass catchers. So I would think in the draft in the second round, they'll be looking at guys like Josh Downs out of North Carolina. We'll see what happens. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who didn't really play at all this past year at Ohio State, where he ends up in the draft. We see year after year, plenty of college receivers come out that make big plays in the NFL who are drafted outside of the first round. The Panthers probably should be, not probably, it absolutely should be targeting a pass catcher there right now, because we haven't seen what's going to happen for agency. But right now, you would think that they need to be targeting a wide receiver there in the second round of the draft.
How do you wrap your head around the capital this franchise has utilized to attack the quarterback position? I mean, do you lump this in with that, or is this such a different type of move? It's so aggressive. It's going to get number one. Do you lump that in with getting Bridgewater, getting Darnold, getting Baker, or is this kind of like a new line of thinking and you can kind of separate the two?
This is different. This feels the conventional way. Like Teddy Bridgewater, they moved on from Cam. Like it or not, that's what they decided to do. They knew that Bridgewater could run the system that Joe Brady was bringing to Carolina. It made a lot of sense. And it's not like they paid him that much money. When you look at what Derek Carr just got, with what Daniel Jones just got, what franchise, or not really franchise quarterback, but what starting quarterback command in the NFL. They didn't pay Teddy Bridgewater all that much money, and it made sense for him to be a bridge, not a play on word of his name, but they did not stick to that plan of potentially taking a quarterback there in the 2021 draft, where they could have taken a guy like Justin Fields out of Ohio State or Mac Jones out of Alabama. Then they decided, all right, we want Matthew Stafford. That didn't work out, even though they had a deal in place. Stafford chose to go to the Rams instead, decided that they'd rather have Sam Darnold than any of those rookies in the 2021 draft class that might be available to them at 8th overall in that draft. And then the Baker Mayfield deal was, well, Sam didn't work out, so let's see if I can save my job, that being Matt Rule. This is the conventional way to draft and develop. And Scott Bitterer said this a week ago at the Combine, that in an ideal world, we would draft and develop our quarterback. Now, the Panthers apparently didn't live in an ideal world the last couple of years in the offseason, but now it seems that they are living in that ideal world where they're going to draft and develop and be able to utilize that cap flexibility that they get with their rookie wage scale contract for a first-round quarterback. So for me, yes, it's a different line of thinking. It's just the normal, conventional, hey, let's draft our guy and see if he works out, instead of let's try and get these retread quarterbacks that have proven that they're probably not franchise quarterbacks in the National Football League.
I'm going to end with this one. This is a global question for you because you're perfect to answer it. Somebody who's followed the team professionally and also as a fan. This is just the third time this team has had the number 1 overall pick in its history. 1995, they traded it to the Bengals, ended up picking Kerry Collins at 5. 2011, wisely stayed pat, took Cam Newton. So I guess here with 40 some odd days before the draft, how should Carolina Panthers feel about having the number 1 pick? How do they feel? Is there some trepidation? What's kind of the overarching feeling right now that you're getting a sense of?
Probably some nervous excitement. You can't get this wrong. And you bring up the 2 other times where they had the number 1 overall pick. Kerry Collins, that didn't work out for the Panthers long term. Cam Newton, that did work out until the end when his body broke down. And you wonder, had he not had to suffer some of those injuries and had he had more around him, whether Cam Newton could still be playing here for the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers aren't in this situation. So they're 1 out of 2 so far and have a number 1 pick, and how it ended up with them landing a quarterback. So there's going to be that nervous excitement. But really what this franchise needs is someone to believe in, someone to really put their hopes and dreams into. And we look at the attendance, and people always want to have sweeping judgments and statements about that, and it's a changing nature of the city and whether the team is not good enough or all that, which certainly have not been great. But who are you going in there to watch on Sundays? Like what is this league about? The league is about the quarterbacks. And the Panthers, when they were on national television, they had a quarterback that not only Panther fans wanted to see, but the rest of the NFL world wanted to see. Now they have the potential to have that hope in a rookie quarterback. And Matt Corral, to a certain extent, represented that last year. But for me, that always felt like a panic move for the organization. Like, oh, the Baker Mayfield trade fell through. We have to do something. And now Corral clearly never going to get an opportunity, it feels like, to be the franchise quarterback in Carolina, which not really surprised. I never felt like he was drafted to be that. But this now represents an opportunity for the Carolina Panthers. So they should be excited about it, but also there's going to be some nerves, because if this goes wrong, it's going to end up costing Scott Bitterer his job. It's going to cause David Tepper to be even more upset than he's been over the 5 years he's been the owner here in Carolina. And probably also cost Frank Reich his second opportunity as a head coach in the NFL. They got to get it right for the sake of the franchise, but also for the sake of a lot of people here who have invested a lot of time and energy in watching this football franchise, but have not gotten very much in return since David Tepper bought the team 5 years ago.
You gave me a great idea. After the race this weekend, we'll do part 2. What about Corral? Julian, you're the best.
What about Corral?
Thanks for joining me, man. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thanks.